name's Sam Hairsign from the Royal Marines Band Service, and in this brass building block video, in collaboration with the National Youth Brass Band of Great Britain, I'm going to talk to you about creating clear ideas of how you want to perform music. This includes conveying feeling and understanding the expressive and stylistic features of practice and performance. A good starting point is to play everything musically. What does that mean? Well, even exercises can be played with thought and musicality, and you should try to build the habit of playing every note as well as you can. Music can express things that language can't, and the same piece of music can mean different things to different people. The notes on the page are only the start of the performance, as what we express is a combination of the written notes, the thought we put into them, and how we choose to play them.
John Hagstrom, a member of the Chicago Symphony Orchestra trumpet section, has written eloquently about what he calls mentally internalized musical discipline. At its most basic, this is simply the mental image of what one would like to sound like. I'd encourage you to look up his teaching, but in essence he is talking about having a very clear picture of what you want to sound like, what you want to convey, and how to combine strong ideas of how you want to play with the lessons you learn along the way. The great Arnold Jacobs, also a brilliant teacher, encouraged us to imagine what it would sound like if you could play it better than anyone had ever played it before. The word better is deliberately subjective, as it leads you to find your own style and sound.
Let's break it down a little. Look at the history and circumstances surrounding the piece, including whether it was originally written for a different instrument, as this will help you to understand why the composer wrote it as they did. Play it through and decide what it is you want to convey. Tell a story. Think of the emotions you associate with it. I often write a single word or phrase above a passage in the score to clarify exactly what it is I'm trying to get across to the audience. Something like peace, ferocious, or turmoil, for instance.
An example here are the first 3 pages of my score to Vincent Persichetti's chorale prelude, A God Unseen. On the first page, I've written some information on the composer. On the second, the words of the chorale and some information about the piece. And then on the first page of the music, I've written improvisatory nature to give the character I want from the opening.
I very clearly remember conducting Holst's second suite in F for an exam. The second movement is called Song Without Words, and a good friend was playing lead clarinet. Instead of trying to give very detailed instructions to him, knowing how great a musician he was, I simply asked him to play desolately, and it was wonderful. For another musician, I may have asked them to play without vibrato, to phrase in a certain way, or given them the words to the original folk song so that they could come up with their own ideas of how to play it.
That piece of music is based on a folk song about love and loss. If there isn't one already, giving the music a story can really help. You don't need to write a new book, but associating certain motifs with a character and thinking about the story of a piece will not only help you to express yourself, but will help you to give narrative structure to the piece as well. In a band context, a piece with very defined characters, and thus a good one to practice, is Eric Ball's Journey into Freedom.
To practice this, you could play a piece of music that you know has a story, perhaps an operatic aria or a hymn tune. Hymn tunes are particularly good because they use the same music for different words from verse to verse, giving you the opportunity to express different thoughts on repeated phrases. Try changing your airflow, altering your mouth cavity by arching your tongue, and experiment with your vibrato, tone quality and sound. Try different articulations too, not just t, k, da or ga, but different consonants and ways of starting notes. Record yourself and listen back to see if you've achieved what you set out to do. You often need to do far more than you think. Keep the very clear idea of how you want to sound in your mind's ear and constantly try to match it with your playing. In coaching, we use the GROW model to move from where we are to where we want to be. GROW stands for goal, reality, options and will. So, know what you want to achieve. Examine what can change and give yourself options, such as working on different vibratos or articulations. Be determined to try those options, and then constantly check against the reality of your playing to monitor progress. Listen to players that inspire you, but remember this is a process through which you'll find your own voice. We may never sound like those players because we all have different physical makeup and our own musical ideas. But remember also that the audience is there to listen to you, not your hero. By having a very clear idea and working towards it, and this can change with experience, you can find your own voice. Set yourself short, medium and long-term goals so that you move from the achievable to the aspirational every time you play. Remember that Rome wasn't built in a day, so enjoy your musical journey.